Hello, everybody. Welcome to this weekend astrology update. Let me make sure all my tech is working properly here. Okay, there we go. Wonderful. Welcome, everybody watching on YouTube. Please put your name and location into the comments. I would love to see who's on and where you are watching from today. And I am Jocelyn Starfeather. I'm the founder of Sacred Planet. If you love this video, please be sure to check out our other Sacred Planet videos on this YouTube channel. I hope you will be delighted with what you will find. And you can find many free and donation-based online courses to guide you in your continual journey of awakening and evolution on my website. You will find the link in the description field below. My website is wearesacredplanet.com. And then if you click on online courses, you'll find lots of options, really beautiful opportunities, and many of them are free and donation based. So enjoy. And I am so excited to bring you this weekend astrology update, which includes the full moon in Leo. And this full moon is actually going to be very close to my sun. My sun is at 18 degrees of Leo, and this full moon will be at 17 degrees of Leo. So very interesting lineup for the weekend. So let me share my screen and I will show you the astrology chart that we will be looking at on February 5th. This full moon will be exact at 1:29 p.m. New York time. So be sure to calculate that for your own local time to see exactly when the new moon will, or the full moon, sorry, will take place. And this full moon will be happening with the moon at 16 degrees and 40 minutes of Leo and the sun at 16 degrees and 40 minutes of Aquarius. So this is a very interesting energy because this is recalling the point where Saturn was in Aquarius, squaring Uranus in Taurus for much of 2021 and 2022. So I'm going to talk more about that and how those energies may be coming into a time where everything can finally be resolved from everything we've been going through in 2021 and 2022. And also the sun is squaring Uranus. So the sun is at 16 degrees, 40 minutes of Aquarius. Uranus is at 15 degrees of Taurus. So they are in a square. So this is going to be a very interesting energy for this full moon as well. So let's dive in. Now, let's talk about the energetics of Leo, because that is always going to be the primary focus of any full moon, is where the moon is located in the chart. Okay, so Leo represents light. Okay, Leo is the sign of the home sign of the sun. All right, so Leo represents light. Leo also represents the heart and the courage that we hold in the heart and the truth that we hold in our hearts. Okay, so light, heart, courage, and truth are going to be the overriding themes of this full moon. Now, Leo also means for us creativity and self-expression. You know, those who have strong planets or points in Leo are very likely to be visible in a beautiful way, like to be musicians or actors or actresses, or to be on the stage, maybe to be doing YouTube lives. You know, they're going to be visible in some way usually. At least once they are more fully developing in their evolution, right? They're going to be expressing in that way. And creativity is really a focus here. Leo also represents, similar to the sun in our charts, it represents the positive side of our ego that knows we are here on a mission and has the willpower and courage to do the things that it takes to make that mission happen, okay? And that often means doing things that are outside of our comfort zone. So during this full moon, here are some things that you might expect. You might feel really creative. You might feel like expressing yourself in a new way, like going dancing or telling your family something that you've been wanting to share for years, but you've been afraid to. And maybe during this full moon, you gain the courage to finally do that, right? Also, during this full moon, you may be given new information about your purpose work that has been held in your heart for a long time, because Leo and the sun are so closely connected. And, our sun in our chart is how we shine our light brightly, right? How we bring our purpose, our mission to the world, how we bring positivity, how we bring light into the lives of others during this lifetime. So you may get new information about how you're meant to do that. Also, as this is so connected with the heart, Leo is the zodiac sign that represents the chest and the heart and the lung area, okay, particularly focused around the heart. So if we have situations in our lives where we just don't know the answer, there's maybe a big problem that's been going on for a long time and we just haven't been able to find the solution, right? Or matters of the heart, matters of relationships, matters of fully being able to express what's in our heart, right? You may be given new information about how to handle these kinds of situations that has kind of been up for you for a long time and you haven't been able to resolve it. Now with Uranus involved, so if we look at this chart, Uranus is square the sun, Uranus is also square the moon. So Uranus is very involved. Uranus is making a major aspects to both the sun and moon in this chart. So there's a strong Uranian energy here. So this information may come in as a lightning flash of insight, a revelation, a surprise, something that you were not expecting. And what you want to remember with Leo being so primary here with this full moon is that your heart always knows. All of the answers we most deeply need are already held in our heart. Sometimes it can be really hard to connect in deeply enough to find them, but the answers are always there. So if you don't yet know your purpose in this lifetime, if you don't yet know how you're supposed to be expressing your creativity or expressing your voice, if you don't yet know how to find the solution to a difficult problem, this full moon is going to be an extremely powerful time to connect in with your heart and ask your heart these big questions. Now, the Heart Math Institute and Greg Braden have both done incredible research, and I will include a link in the description field below so you can read more about this, in the power of creating coherence between our heart and our brain. And when we drop into a meditative state and we connect in with our heart, it calms down the mind and creates this coherent flow between the heart and the brain that allows us to sink in and ask our heart the questions, these big questions in our life, the questions we just don't know the answer to on a mind level or on a conscious level. In our heart, not only will we find the answers and guidance, but also we will find the courage to get outside of those old comfort zones, to break free from the old patterns once we have the answer. Because often this answer from the heart, it's going to be a calm and quiet answer that you receive from your heart. Okay, but it might be something that really requires you to break out of old patterns, get out of your comfort zones. And that's when we need to depend on the courage of Leo, the courage of the lion, right? That big cat energy that is so strong and courageous, and really break free from what's been holding us back and from the old patterns. And a big part of this with Leo is to break free of the restrictions of what other people expect from you, or what other people think or say that you should be doing, right? And connect in with the truth in your heart and what your heart tells you is right for you, regardless of what anybody else will say. And follow your heart then. Follow that bright light, right? This is like the sun that shines within you, this Leo energy within the heart. So let this bright light within you lead the way. And shine your light in the way that nobody else can do quite the same. Really revel in that feeling of having the courage of knowing, oh my gosh, it's going to be scary to share this news, or it's going to be scary to express myself in this way, or it's going to be scary to really claim this as my purpose. But I'm going to have the courage to do it. I know how to move forward with this now, right? And find bliss and joy in these new developments. Because even as they may be uncomfortable, it may be outside of your comfort zone in some ways, it's also blissful and joyful in other ways, because it's like you're liberating yourself. And this is the energy of Uranus, is liberation, right? So to follow your heart, to break free from what others have been telling you is the right way for you, and to follow the path of what you know is right for you, and only and uniquely for you, right? It doesn't have to get approval from anybody else. So this full moon is a huge opportunity to let yourself be guided by bliss, by your heart, by the light that you feel within, by your own courage and by your own truth. Now, we always want to think too about the shadow side of the zodiac archetypes that we're working with. So the shadow side of the Leo archetype is related to the negative aspects of the ego. So for example, you want to be really careful that you're not just taking an action to try to assert your own importance, okay, or to aggrandize yourself, to make yourself appear better than others, right? This is not the energy we want to be coming from, or trying to make others wrong so that you can be right, right? Trying to have power over others. These are the wrong energies to be coming from. We want to be coming from truth and courage and integrity. Because if we're not, then it's not going to be aligned. And in the long run, it's not going to work out, right? We want to really be moving and acting from the truth in our heart for the highest good for all, right? And so another thing is we don't want to hold back from expressing what we find there in the heart. Now, take the time you need. You might make a big new realization during this full moon that just kind of like rocks your world on an inner sense, and you have to like recalibrate and take a day or a week to process and integrate that. Okay, take the time that you need, but also don't hold back for too long from expressing what you have found out, from doing what your heart knows to be true, right? We don't want to stay stuck in old patterns because we're like not claiming the courage to do it, right? So don't hold back. Again, take time you need to integrate. That's okay. Sometimes with Uranus involved, things can come through very suddenly, sometimes shockingly. So take the time you need to process that through and integrate it before you take action. But then be sure to not hold back. Be sure to not just hold it in forever. Really let these energies of this full moon guide you to amplify your light and your truth in the world, right? In beautiful and powerful ways. Now, one thing that I recommend is to work with a crystal that is the color of the sun. So work with a crystal that is yellow or maybe orange. So this would be carnelian is a beautiful orange crystal. Citrine is a wonderful, it's kind of a transparent yellow. Also calcite is a beautiful creamy yellow crystal. If you work with a crystal that's the color of the sun, you're going to amplify these Leo energies. So if you wanted to do a little ritual or a ceremony around this, around releasing your true self-expression, releasing the truth in your heart and bringing it out into the light, a crystal that's the color of the sun would be really powerful to have with you as part of that ritual or that ceremony. Now, something interesting that's happening with this full moon is also an activation of the royal stars. Now, the royal stars in ancient times were considered to be, first of all, Regulus, which is in the sign of Leo, Fomalhaut, which is in the sign of Aquarius, Aldebaran, which is in the sign of Taurus, and Antares, which is in the sign of Scorpio. These are the four royal stars, and they form a cross in the sky. And so these stars in ancient times were regarded as the guardians of the sky. And so if we look at them, Aldebaran in Taurus was considered to be the star that was watching the east. Regulus in Leo was considered to be the star that watched the north. Antares in Scorpio was considered to be the star that watched the west. And Fomalhaut in Aquarius was considered to be the star that watched the south. So these stars are out there and they're like guides for us, and they're keeping an eye on the cosmos. They're keeping an eye on what is happening out there in the cosmic realms, and they're protecting us. And they're sending us positive royal star energy, this really amplified high frequency energy. So because we have the moon in Leo with Regulus, we have the sun in Aquarius with Fomalhaut, we have Uranus in Taurus with Aldebaran, and then we have the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio here. Okay, so they're also fairly close to these stars. Now, I'm not saying that these planets are at the exact degree of every star, right? But they're occupying the signs that these stars have always been traditionally located in. And so this is a really powerful connection with those royal stars. So if you wanted to do a ritual or a ceremony to honor this full moon, as I was saying a little bit ago, you could also call in the royal stars. As you're calling in the directions, you could also call in those stars, and I'll put this in the description field too, so you can see which of those stars correspond to each of the 4 directions, but that would be really powerful to bring in. Another thing interesting about this full moon is that the moon is in the sun's home sign, right? So this is a really beautiful balancing of the masculine and feminine energies, the feminine energies of the sun, the deep feminine mysteries, the cycles of continual change and rebirth and renewal, balanced with the sun, which is in its home sign, which the Leo is the home sign of the sun. The sun right now is in Aquarius, okay, but the home sign of Leo is, the home sign of the sun is Leo, right? And this represents the masculine energies, that bright light shining, the courage, the confidence, the ability to take action of the sacred masculine. So this is a really beautiful balancing point in the year. Now, I want to talk about the fact that the sun in Aquarius is square Uranus and Taurus. Okay, so as I said earlier, the sun is at 16 degrees and 40 minutes of Aquarius, and Uranus is at 15 degrees and 1 minute of Taurus. So these are in a square. Now, a square is a more challenging energy. And what's really fascinating about this particular square is that this is reactivating two transits that we have moved through in 2021 and 2022. So first of all, Saturn and Uranus were repeatedly squaring each other, with Saturn in the mid degrees of Aquarius and Uranus in the mid degrees of Taurus, all throughout 2021, and even continuing on, although it wasn't an exact square, it was very, very close to exact in 2022. So a lot of the difficulties and the challenges that we felt in those last 2 years were from this ongoing Saturn and Uranus square. This was an energy of things breaking down, things collapsing, rapid and sudden shocks coming into our system, things we weren't expecting that felt very destructive because Saturn squaring Uranus, this is like the breakup of the established patterns, the breakup of the structures that we know. Ultimately, it is trying to create our liberation, but it can feel very chaotic and very destructive as it's happening. Now, this is an interesting time to revisit it, and I want to tell you how we can work positively with these energies. But there's one more thing I need to mention, that this is also going to be reactivating, and that is in July and August of 2022, we had Uranus and the North Node and Mars conjunct at 18 degrees of Taurus. And this was in the last week of July and first week of August 2022. This was a time when a lot of really surprising things happened, really big breakdowns occurred in many people's lives on a personal level. Of course, big things have been happening in the collective too, but this was on a really personal level. There were big breakdowns over the summer of 2022, and it was centered around this very challenging Uranus, North Node, and Mars conjunction. So this is close to that degree as well. So what this has all been about over the last 2 years is changes, big, big changes in our lives that create liberation through chaos. So ultimately, you are being set free. We are being set free from the old patterns, the old structures, the old ways of thinking, the old forms of government and medical establishment and religious establishments and social and economic and educational establishments. It's like all these are being broken down, right? So we're being set free from the old ways, but this can feel like destruction. It can actually feel like captivity. It's like it's trying to get us to liberation, but it feels in the short term like we're more trapped, right? But we have to keep in mind that these forces are here at work to liberate us. So the good news about this full moon right now that's going to happen over the weekend is we're already familiar with these energies. We've already been initiated by this. We've already gotten really familiar with how this feels and how to be resilient through it. And now that the sun and moon are coming to these points, we are able to move to a higher level of consciousness around these changes. All right, we have evolved so significantly over the last 2 years. So this full moon is a really important time to review and revisit these energies that occurred for you specifically in your life in 2021 and 2022. Okay, and think about all the work you've done around these themes that have come up for you. So I'm sure there's been in your life a lot of excavation, okay, shadow work, healing work, ancestral healing, recalibrating your life to come into deeper alignment with what you know to be true, right? And it's been challenging work for the most part. So really review and really honor and give yourself credit for all of this that you've been moving through, all that you've been releasing too. This is a big thing. We've released a lot. We've been asked to let go of a lot from our lives on all levels, right? So really honoring this, honoring the initiations you've moved through, and then let this sun and moon come in and shine their light at these same degree points once again, and allow them to show you the light at the end of the tunnel. Allow them to show you what this is all leading to. And allow them to show you that the point of all of this is liberation, not captivity. It is actually moving toward your freedom. So there may be a lot of new insights coming through about that this weekend too. Like, you know, feeling like a life review of the last 2 years and allowing us to integrate and process what has happened. And then honoring all that we've moved through, honoring how it's made us stronger, how it's made us more courageous, it's made us more resilient, and really starting to look ahead, really starting to look at, wow, now that I've done all of this healing, what comes next, right? What is this tunnel leading to? What is that light at the end? Starting to ask your guides and ask your heart for clarity about all of this, so that you can know how to move forward in the best way, so that you can take the lessons learned and move forward really positively. Now, if you have major planets or points in your own birth chart in the fixed signs, okay, which is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, you have been feeling all of these transits I'm talking about in 2021 and 2022 extremely strongly, even more so than most people. Okay, and so you've been initiated majorly. You've probably had some sort of life, death, and then rebirth experience over these last 2 years. I know I have. My sun is at 18 degrees of Leo and my moon is at 19 degrees of Scorpio. So those Saturn-Uranus squares were directly squaring and opposing my sun and moon. It's been ridiculous. Just so much letting go, releasing, shocking events, right? And so I know if you have planets or aspects in your chart in the fixed signs, you have been experiencing that too, right? And so this has been really strong all throughout 2021, and then probably reaching a culmination point of some sort in mid to late 2022 for those of us with strong planets in the fixed signs. So this is a really powerful turning point we're at right now with this full moon. This is a chance to do the review, a chance to integrate, release any lingering negativity that we have from those events, really like send it back to source, anything negative we've been holding on to, resentment, regret, right? And allow the new revelations and breakthroughs to come through. Because Uranus and Saturn recognize that we've been through a lot, and they also want to help us evolve. They want to send us the revelations and breakthroughs. Uranus in particular is very involved with this full moon. So Uranus is wanting us to get those new insights, wanting us to see that light at the end of the tunnel in a very new way, right? And so Uranus acts fast. Uranus is like lightning, like intellectual fire, just suddenly coming through with it, new information, new revelations. And with this full moon, things can move really fast with all that Uranian energy. And so the things, the insights, the new information may be coming in too fast for you to immediately comprehend. So if you find that that's happening, if you're feeling overwhelmed by all the processing that's going on or all the new information, just surrender into it, breathe into it, trust the process and allow it to move through so that you can reach the other side. What we don't want to do is resist. What we don't want to do is like put up a wall and say, nope, I won't go there. Had enough, right? We want to keep surrendering into it and allow it to move through you, allow it to flow, and then you'll be able to come out the other side more fully integrated, more whole, more harmonized, more balanced. So I hope that is helpful for you in considering the weekend ahead. It's a really strong, powerful full moon. And we want to find a really good balance between the heart energy and the Uranian insights. Okay, we want to try to find a good balanced place where, again, we can do the integration from the last couple of years, bring in courage, bring in truth and light, and even bring in the bliss of knowing that we're going to be able to more fully express creatively and with our own voice, right? We're going to be able to live closer and closer to our truth for having gone through all these initiations. This full moon is a time to really reflect on all of this. Bring yourself back to center, bring yourself back to wholeness. If you can, do a lot of quiet time, solitude time, meditation, yoga, whatever works best for you, a walk in nature, maybe. Just being quiet in your own safe space and listening to solfeggio frequency music is really wonderful and healing and harmonizing, just to let you process, to let you integrate it all over the last 2 years. That's going to be really powerful for you. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me check and see. Hello, Michael in Louisville, Kentucky. Hello, Levon. Thank you for being on live. And thank you for everybody who's watching live right now, and also those who will watch this later as a recording. Be sure to check out those extra links I mentioned in the description field. I'll get those posted as soon as I can. And I hope you all have a beautiful and very inspiring and very heart-filled weekend. And